It is April 27th, 2024, and you are listening to Sports Chowder with me, Sam Stebbins. Today I'm talking the first round of the NFL Draft, the Celtics and Bruins playoff runs, and more. Quarterback Drake Maye is now a New England Patriot, and it feels good. Picks 1, 2, and 3 went just as I and many others expected. Of course, Caleb Williams, quarterback from USC, went to Chicago. Quarterback Jaden Daniels went to the Washington Commanders. And Drake Maye went to New England. It was just not that hard to predict. It was pretty clearly what was going to happen. As confident as I have been for the past few weeks, yesterday morning and afternoon, I did feel some anxiety. I thought, what if a team gives New England some kind of Godfather offer that they cannot refuse for pick number 3? And of course, in my view, that would have been a mistake. And thankfully, the Patriots front office made the right choice and kept pick number 3 and chose a quarterback. Because really, as great as a draft day trade can be, there's really only so much value a boatload of picks can give you when you don't have a franchise quarterback. So they made the right choice. They picked at number 3, and now we know who is hopefully the new franchise quarterback for the Patriots. Now, when you draft a quarterback this early in the draft, many people expect them to start immediately. Personally, I'd prefer we only start Drake Maye if he is ready. Coach Mayo has said he will start the best players regardless of who they are. So if Drake Maye needs more time to develop and adjust to being in the NFL, that's fine. You can start Jacoby Brissett for a while, and then when it's time, start Drake Maye. I would much rather do this right than do it quickly. Like I've said, Drake Maye could become Mac Jones 2.0 if we don't learn some lessons. For one thing, be optimistic. That's always a good thing. But don't expect ridiculous things out of a quarterback right out of the gate from being drafted. Development takes time. Tom Brady wasn't Tom Brady when he was first drafted. He was on his way to becoming that guy, but he was not there yet. Also, maintain consistent offensive coaching. Don't switch up offensive coordinators and quarterback coaches every season like we did with Mac. I have so much confidence that Drake Maye will be a great franchise quarterback. I just know it takes time and we have to be patient. But I am very excited, don't get me wrong. I think this can be a very fun journey we're about to start, and I trust Coach Mayo, Elliott Wolf, and the Kraft family to learn from their mistakes and build something great and build something better than we've been the past few years. So I watched the entire first round last night, and like I said, the first few picks went exactly as I expected. However, there were a couple of surprises that I think are worth talking about. The first big surprise was Washington quarterback Michael Penix Jr. being selected at number 8 by the Atlanta Falcons. For one thing, it's strange because the Falcons just signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year deal, so they have their franchise quarterback in place for a few seasons. Yes, he is 36, so, time is of the essence, but it is kind of surprising they went with a quarterback in the top 10 of the draft when they could have drafted a wide receiver or some kind of offensive talent to help out their newly signed quarterback. And of all quarterbacks, why Michael Penix Jr.? He has had 4 seasons end with injuries. He is not someone who you can necessarily rely on to be healthy for your team. If they're going to draft a quarterback, they should have gone with J.J. McCarthy. Now, like I've said, J.J. McCarthy lacks experience throwing the ball because he was on a run-first offense with Michigan, but he is healthier and has more potential than Michael Penix Jr. for the future. Now, probably the biggest first-round shocker for me was the Kansas City Chiefs selecting Xavier Worthy, a wide receiver out of Texas. As you may remember, Xavier Worthy holds the NFL Combine record for the fastest 40-yard dash. This guy is a scary fast wide receiver, and will be an excellent weapon for Patrick Mahomes in that Chiefs offense. Now, I'm somewhat conflicted by this because there's a part of me that thinks it will be really fun to watch Patrick Mahomes pass to Xavier Worthy. I mean, his speed is amazing. Obviously, Mahomes is a legend already. So there's a lot of fireworks that might be happening in Kansas City pretty soon. On the other hand, the Chiefs have won 3 Super Bowls in just a few years, and they just won back-to-back championships. So I'm also thinking, great, that's just what the Chiefs need, another great offensive player. I'm honestly shocked that the other teams in the draft allowed Xavier Worthy to fall so late into the first round. They really should have seen Kansas City on the draft board and thought, maybe we don't need to give them an extra weapon that'll make their offense even more amazing. Now, it's not a given that Xavier Worthy is going to have some kind of explosive NFL career, so we'll have to wait and see, but it was a very surprising pick, and at the very least, it will be an interesting narrative next season. So at least it'll be interesting. That's all I can say. Now, I am recording this episode on Friday, so the second round is tonight. And looking forward to that, the Patriots might actually trade pick number 34. I have read reports that the Patriots have talked with the San Francisco 49ers about trading for Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel, both very talented wide receivers. Another potential trade target is Cincinnati wide receiver T. Higgins, who I have talked about on this show before. I say that because recently he reiterated his request for a trade away from the Bengals. Now, obviously, any of these trades would be really great and add a much-needed weapon on the Patriots' offense. However, I'm guessing San Fran and Cincinnati would probably want more than one pick in a trade, so it might not actually happen. Because honestly, any other players we could add to this trade either aren't that great, or if they are, pretty talented, we need them to stay on our roster. Now, a big pro of adding a wide receiver via trade would be the fact that all of these guys are relatively young but still experienced, which would be a little bit better than just drafting a wide receiver with this pick. Now, if the trade does not happen, that's okay. There are still some talented wide receivers in the draft, and it's not that bad to draft a wide receiver out of college. It's just worth trying to get someone with more experience to add to our team. Regardless of what happens, it will be a very interesting night at the NFL draft tonight. Now, last night I watched some of the Pat McAfee Draft Spectacular, which featured Bill Belichick. And I have to say, Bill did a great job. He had some great insights. But a problem with the Draft Spectacular was that there were too many other guys there. It felt kind of chaotic. There wasn't really a good balance between goofing around and real insight. That being said, it was a great soft launch for Belichick's possible media career. Now, this week there have been some reports for what Bill's media career could look like. Apparently, a deal is being worked out between Belichick and Peyton Manning's production company called Omaha Productions. This would involve him having a recurring role on the ESPN Monday Night Football alternate broadcast called Monday Night Football with Peyton and Eli Manning. Now, like I said, I don't really find Peyton and Eli Manning all that likable inherently. They aren't bad people, I just am personally not very interested in listening to them talk over a football game. That being said, I will tune in anytime that Bill will be a part of the Peyton and Eli broadcast of Monday Night Football. Now, part of this report is that this deal could include an inside football type show hosted by Bill and a podcast hosted by Bill. Now, those two possibilities excite me the most because I think a show where Bill gets to be the center of attention is the best possible outcome, in my opinion, because he has a lot of insight, he has a lot of experience, I think he has stories for eons, so hopefully Peyton Manning, his business partners, and Belichick can make a deal work. It has also been previously reported that Bill is writing a book on leadership, which is also very exciting to me. In addition to all of that, last night Pat McAfee invited Bill to be featured every Monday on his show during football season. So Bill is really building up a potentially great media career, and it might only last 1 year while he's waiting for a new coaching job to open up, but I think it will be a very fun ride, a very interesting ride, and I'm glad he's doing this. He could easily just hang out on Cape Cod all day and be on his boat, but he's choosing to have a career of some sort, even while he's not coaching. So I'm very excited, and I hope there's more to come with this media career. Moving on to basketball, the Celtics and Heat are tied 1-1 in the first round of the playoffs. The Celtics won Game 1, 114-94. Frankly, it was not a very competitive game. And the Heat won Game 2, 111-101. Game 1 was almost a deceptively easy win. It just did not seem very hard for our team. The highlight for me was Tatum. He had a triple-double with 23 points, 10 assists, and 10 rebounds. Now, Miami came back with a vengeance Game 2, and at a certain point in the third quarter, they took the lead, and somehow it felt insurmountable for Boston, even though it really wasn't. So it was kind of painful. I feel like the Celtics lost their mojo, and a game they should have won, considering it was at home, was instead lost. So now we go to Miami tied up. Now, one thing that really hurt us was Kristaps Porzingis. He had a weaker game. He had only 6 points, and he was 1 for 9 shooting from the floor and 0 for 4 from the three-point range. Jason Tatum started strong with 14 points in the first quarter, but by the time the game was over, he had only scored 28. Which, again, is not a bad game, but it's a weird game, and it's not ideal in the postseason. So he's going to have to balance out his efforts so he's consistent throughout the entire game, and not just having one strong quarter and then dropping off. Now, a key to winning Game 3 will be shutting down the Heat's Tyler Hero again. In Game 1, he was guarded by Drew Holiday largely, and was held to only 11 points, but in Game 2, he managed to score 24 points. So in Game 3, he needs to be shut down. We have to take care of him if we want to win. I honestly have full confidence the Celtics will beat the Heat and advance, but Game 2 was very frustrating and strange, and it's worth pointing out ways we can improve. Now, elsewhere in the NBA playoffs, there is an interesting possibility developing. The LA Lakers are down 3-0 to the Denver Nuggets. They are one game away from being swept. Of course, the Denver Nuggets are the defending NBA champions, and they are a very intimidating team. Frankly, they are much better than the Lakers. But the idea of a LeBron-led team being swept in the first round is really crazy to me. Now, I've had mixed feelings on LeBron throughout his career, but at this point, I have to respect him. I have to like him, even though I'm no Lakers fan. Honestly, it's because LeBron has been a basketball superstar for as long as I can remember. So really, I respect his status as a veteran and as a NBA legend. And honestly, he was the first basketball superstar I really knew about. I remember when he went to Miami, what a big deal that was. So, even though back in the day I used to, dislike him, he was a rival to the Celtics. At this point, LeBron is an elder statesman of the NBA, and I have to say, I will miss him when he retires, so I hope he and the Lakers give the Denver Nuggets more of a battle in Game 4, and hopefully at least force a Game 5. Moving on to the Boston Bruins, they are up 2-1 against Toronto in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and they won Game 3 4-2 in Toronto. Game 4 is tonight at 7, and I intend to watch. I had a chance to watch Game 1, and that was a lot of fun. It was a great 5-1 victory, and it's really exciting. Like I said, I don't know too much about hockey, but I enjoy watching it on TV and in person, and I hope the Bruins make a deep playoff run. I think they have the potential to do so. So thank you, Boston Bruins, for taking a lead in a postseason series. I hope the Celtics will take after you tonight. And now a Red Sox update. Some good news is that Rafael Devers, our third baseman, is back from being injured. He hit a home run against Cleveland in our big 8-0 win the other day, which was awesome. But unfortunately, one of our pitchers, Brian Bayo, is on the 15-day injured list with right lat tightness, and first baseman Tristan Casas is out with a fractured rib. The injuries this year already have been pretty crazy, and I have nothing against the training staff, but I think the Red Sox should look into what they're doing because something is amiss and it's already hurt our season, so it's worth looking into. Since my last episode, the Red Sox have swept the Pittsburgh Pirates, which was really fun, and then they lost the series 1-2 against the Guardians. It's kind of a weird season because thus far our team has been better than most other bad teams, but not really strong enough to beat the better teams. So it's really a middle-of-the-road season so far, so we'll have to see how that develops. This weekend, the Red Sox have a series in Boston against the Chicago Cubs, and that should be fun. I mean, I'm a sucker for the Red Sox playing other marquee baseball teams, so hopefully that'll be competitive, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, last weekend was very awesome for Boston sports because the Red Sox swept their opponent, as I mentioned, and the Celtics and Bruins had wins in the playoffs. So I'm hoping this weekend will be a repeat, but it remains to be seen. And now a segment I call Assorted Awesome, when I talk about something that's 100% awesome with no caveats. Last weekend, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, and Cedric Maxwell were all in Boston for the grand opening of the new Dick's House of Sport in Boston's Back Bay. They signed basketballs, other memorabilia, and they talked the old days. Now, it's really awesome that all of these 80s Celtics legends were back in town. It was especially awesome to see Larry Bird back in Boston. Understandably, he does not do a lot of Celtics stuff because he's been associated with his home state, Indiana Pacers, as a coach, executive, and now consultant for almost 30 years. So to have him in town right when the playoffs are starting is really meaningful. Now, I think as a strategy, the Celtics organization needs to make sure one of these guys is within Boston city limits for every remaining home game of the postseason, because it really seemed to help Boston against Miami that Sunday. Regardless, I love seeing these guys back in Boston. It really means so much. Even for me, I was not alive in the 80s, but I know they accomplished great things, so my hat's off to these guys. That is it for this episode of Sports Chowder with me, Sam Stebbins. As a reminder, you can follow me on X at Stebbins Tweets. You can follow the show on X at sports_chowder. You can follow the show on Instagram at sportschowder and like it on Facebook. You can listen to Sports Chowder on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. You can also find Sports Chowder on YouTube, where I publish full episodes and episode highlights. Again, I hope to be making some video-exclusive content for that YouTube channel soon. If you have any ideas or requests, please let me know on social media. I will be happy to oblige. Thank you so much for listening. It means so much to me. This has been a really fun project for me, a really good place to vent and celebrate the state of Boston sports, and the fact that many of you are not even from New England and are still listening is really awesome, so thank you. If any of you non-New England sports fans have a request, let me know through social media or through text or whatever what you want me to talk about, because I will take a request if you are a true fan, if you follow me on Spotify or whatever platform, because I want to treat my fans right. That is the standard I am setting for this little podcast, so please reach out with any ideas or suggestions. Once again, thank you all for listening, and I will return next week with even more Sports Chowder.